Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to the Thursday night edition of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We have Everett Themer from the Themer Group coming on in to talk about UFO marketing. What is going on in the UFO world? He comes from a different understanding of all this, and it's going to make for a great show indeed. We have T-Bone in the gold medal position, Tim Mothman in his goatee with a silver, Kitty Caddywhack with a bronze medal tonight. Michael Morris, the attorney at large. How you doing tonight? Trucker Andrew, nice to see you. Race fan, thanks for coming on in. Hi there, Robert Lamoth and Thunderhead. Mel WD-40 is here lubing us up for tonight's show because Everett says he will not do this show unless Mel has lubed him up. So Mel is lubing up Everett as we speak. Don't forget to give yourself a little shot there, Mel, as well. We'd appreciate it. Mama Catherine, mwah. I love you, my dear. I hope you're having a great day, great night, and I hope you enjoy tonight's show. Just sit back, relax, and just listen. I'll be in your head soon. I will. Well, actually, I'm kind of in your head right now. Unless you're watching, and then I'm in your eyes too. Yeah. Nicole, how you doing? Nice to see you as we continue on with our roll call. And there is T-Bone and Missouri Man. How you doing? Stephanie Kenny Blankenship. Bar Madison is here. Bar Madison will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Kathy Evans, how are you tonight? As we continue on with our roll call, Frankie B, Necessary Dialogue. Good to have you both here. Scrolling on down, Jaquetta, how are you tonight? Thank you for coming on in. Honest Content, thank you for joining us. As we scroll on down and say hello to number 33 in your program tonight, starting in goal from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Jansson. There he is. Road Flare, how are you? Walter Kochabinski, JSCO. Nice to have you guys here as we continue on with our roll call. Shane Gord and Claudette. How are you, Claudette? Claudette will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Jay Truth, good to see you. As we continue on with our roll call, and we say hello to Integrationing. Thanks for coming on in. Who is next on our list? It's Skip to My Lou, everybody. How are you tonight? Flubber Lane, thanks for coming on in. And T-Bone, thank you for kicking off the Super Chat tonight. The Super Chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much. Pam Harris, how are you, my dear? Good to have you here. Dr. Bob, thanks for coming on in. Luscious Jules, how are you? Nice to see you tonight. And who else do we have? Digi Addict, how are you tonight? Good to see you. We are like caught up there. We're caught up. Uh-huh. And give me 2 seconds here. Give me 2 seconds because we got to get the radio side going here anyways. Bear with me. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're going to take a look at ufology and the UFO disclosure from a different angle. Everett Themer will be here from the Themer Group. He is a media marketing specialist. We're going to take a look at the marketing of UFOs in the media and government secrets. It's going to be a good one tonight, so sit back, relax. We are in our roll call right now as we say hello to Stargazer and Chaz Mataz. Thank you guys for coming on in tonight. And Feed Me Seymour. Mark SRT Wolf. He drives a Dodge. He does. You can tell. Unless it's a Jeep. One of the two. He's got one of the two in there. Yeah, he likes his power. Is he a Hellcat kind of guy? You a Hellcat kind of guy? Let me know. All right. Super Chat is open. It's a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. Why? We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. So make sure you check it on out. For the rest of you, throw those horns up, everybody. Let's rock.
Are you ready to hear your mystic voice of the night?
It's time to wake up.
He's here. Be quiet. He's ready for you to listen. Let's point our ears towards the little cabin mountains. We're together, friends. It's time for Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott.
From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news flyer, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by CaribouCon. Head on over to CaribouCon.com. Get your tickets for September 18th through 20th, for we are having the best and only paranormal investigation and conference in British Columbia. We're going to get into a different side of ufology tonight. We're going to talk about the media, the marketing, and everything in between with UFO disclosure. From the Themer Group out of Illinois, Everett Themer will be our guest tonight on the show. Then in hour number 3, Swamp Dweller will join us for another spooky story. We will follow that up with our good friend Grant Baker coming on in for the UFO report. So let's get right to this, shall we? Because this is going to be an entertaining and a different look at UFOs. It will be. Everett Themer is a researcher, commentator, and media strategist known for his work examining the intersection of UFO disclosure, public perception, and modern communications. With a keen understanding of branding, audience engagement, and narrative development, Everett has become a respected voice in discussion surrounding the UFO phenomena and how it's presented to the public. His work focuses on the ways governments, intelligence agencies, and media organizations kind of convert this story into conversation for the public. And he tries to give a little bit of a broader description of disclosure and the movement behind it. We will get to Everett here in just 2 seconds as we bring him on in. Everett Themer, welcome back to Spaced Out Radio. It's been a long, long time, my friend.
Oh, it has been. It feels like a little bit like coming home.
Well, it should. You were Everett, for full disclosure, since we are talking disclosure tonight, Everett really helped me build Spaced Out Radio for about 5 years, 5-6 years, and he did an impeccable job with that till he went on to do his own thing. He got a little busy with his own work, and you know what? That happens, but I've always appreciated you and our friendship, my friend.
Oh, me too. And you have done the heavy lifting with this show. I mean, you are one of the few that's around from back in the Blog Talk days.
I know. That's scary, isn't it?
It doesn't seem like we can be that old.
We are that old. You're a lot grayer. I'm a lot grayer, except you didn't gain weight. I did. So
Yeah, I gained a little,
where?
just a little.
You have a media marketing background. You've worked in everything from politics to private businesses and, set up strategies and media strategies, selling strategies. You have worked the business side for a long time in the marketing and you have this affinity for UFOs and UFO disclosure as well. How have you blended the two? Why did you decide to do that?
Because it got to be it got to be dragging on so long. I mean, when we started doing 2018 is the year of disclosure, and then 2019 is the year of disclosure, and it's just kept on getting kicked forward. I started to wonder why, not just from the main sort of faces out there that are selling their brand of ufology or their UFO stories, but from the government and talking to you. I mean, you and I had some pretty deep conversations where we tried to sort of break things down. And then it just kind of merged into, it's just a product. I'm not sure exactly what they're trying to sell, but they're trying to sell. It's not about disclosing aliens. There's no point in that. They're trying to sell something else.
Now, for people in disclosing who you are, have you ever seen a UFO?
I've seen things that are unidentified. I have never had that is definitely a UFO from another planet kind of event, but I have seen odd things in the sky, and I have seen things that were odd enough to make a report to, whether it be MUFON or the UFO Reporting Center. But I can't say that they were 100% alien.
I'm going to tell you something, and you probably don't even know this. This is one of the little shticks that happens as this show has grown over the years. I remember you pounding it into me that there's only one sky. Sky is not plural, like people say skies. And I remember you actually pounding that into my head. Stop saying skies. There's one sky. There's one sky over you, one sky over me. There's not multiple skies out there. And to this day, I still do that,
I can see me doing that or saying that in the past. I think I've softened a little bit on that because, you can't argue everything anymore. I mean, you're wrong because it is just one sky, but, we accept that.
Well, we're going to have a great show with you tonight as we continue on with this subject. Why is the UFO subject important to you? And why are you keeping a close eye on it from a business standpoint?
At some point in my youth, I just got drawn into it. And then, I moved away from it for a long time. And I'm going to be honest with you, your early shows where you were still on Blog Talk and you had just moved to Spreaker, some of the shows that you had really helped draw me back in. I mean, I don't know if you remember the first time that we had actually talked, but I had contacted you to do a review of the show because I thought you weren't getting enough attention.
I remember that.
And it's, just things like that pulled me back in. And actually, I walked away from it for a while because if you look at the past few years, there really hasn't been very much new. We're just kind of going over so many of the same things.
It is one of the worst sets of regurgitation I think we have ever seen. But the first time we talked, I think you were writing for Skeptical Inquirer.
That would have been, it could have been one of them. I think what I wrote about you was actually in, I think, Supernatural magazine.
That's right. You scheduled an hour-long conversation that I think ended up going like 4.5 hours.
Yeah. It was
fantastic.
It was a long conversation, and it was a lot of fun too.
Absolutely it was. Absolutely it was. And And thank you for that, because we were able to develop a very good friendship out of it, which is very cool and unique in its own words too.
Well, in the media world, there is so much backstabbing, and people are always expecting some form of drama. And, there's just been you and me kind of doing our thing, talking behind the scenes and keeping in touch and having some fun.
Let's talk about the media side of everything, because this is something that I'm very passionate about. When I first started this gig, every UFO story that came on, it started with the X-Files theme song, or Star Trek, or something along those lines. And then you'd usually get the anchor who had that fake plastic hair come on in, and there was something strange in the sky over wherever today, and Jim Bob saw this video, and reporter Royce Hansen is on the scene. And then the reporter would come in, give the report. They'd kind of give a couple of shots to the guy, like cheap shots, like here's another hick seeing UFOs, probably a tinfoil hat conspiracy theorist. And then the story would end about 3 minutes later, and then we would see the anchors come back. Well, Diane, if I actually saw a UFO, I would ask him to beam me up so I wouldn't have to work another shift with you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that is every UFO report prior to a few years ago. And just a few years ago, even though the New York Times article really kicked things off in 2017. But since then, we've seen, with the congressional hearings coming out, we've seen the media really start treating this story like a headline story that it is. I think it's been great for the subject. I think it's been vindication for a lot of UFO experiencers out there who were called crazy, who lost their friends, lost their families, lost their jobs because of their experience. When you look at all of that, how has this media coverage changed the UFO world?
Well, I think the media has always had sort of a contentious relationship with UFOs, and to an extent the paranormal. But with the UFOs, you go back and you look at like Unsolved Mysteries would cover Roswell or something, and it would be treated seriously, and it would kind of hang out there that it was a valid story and taken seriously. But you're right, then a week later there would be something on the news, and it would kind of get some snickers. I think back in 2017, that was the UFO community's chance to really push it mainstream, and for a while it was. I would say the last 5 years or so, it kind of went downhill again. And I'm not so, I disagree with you a little bit. I think that it's still being treated with a bit of a side eye, some snickering, even with the whistleblowers that are out there, or claim to be out there. In my view, they're not whistleblowers if they have to get approval for what they say.
I would agree with you there.
And I will give some of the semi-mainstream anchors and reporters some credit, because they are pushing back a little bit on that, on some of these things. And I think the problem is that the UFO community, there hasn't been an advancement really in 10 years. I mean, we used to have every 10 years or so, there would be a major sighting. You had the in the 80s, you had the Belgian France UFO sightings. In 96, you had Phoenix Lights. 2006, you had O'Hare. What happened in 2015, 2016, last year, this year? Nothing.
Not much. There hasn't been any power sightings. I mean, it's hard to say, though, because there's so much video technology out there that nothing is surprising anymore. But we haven't had that giant UFO hubbub like we did with the Phoenix Lights, if we use that for an example.
It's great that there's a lot of video out there, but I also know a lot of people who are beginning to, and I don't mean to sound cynical, but they don't care about UFO videos anymore. It's too easy to fake them.
It is disappointing. I don't think with the abilities of AI growing so rapidly over the last 365 days, I don't think we can really trust another video unless it is taken from multiple sides by multiple different people, say like the Phoenix lights. Yes, there's the famous footage of the lights lighting up over Phoenix, but there were still other people who were filming it and eyewitnessing it at the same time. Word is there's over 70,000 people who eyewitnessed that. If we had that type of sighting, I think that would get people back on board. But, if you're surfing TikTok or you're surfing Instagram or YouTube for the latest UFO videos, I think you have to be very careful because AI is getting so good. And I know there's been a couple out there recently that I thought, wow, this looks real. And it wasn't.
Did you ever think that you would say that video might be pointless? I mean, 15 years ago, that was the holy grail.
Absolutely.
Now, now it's generally dismissed. And the sad thing is that there might be things that are missed in that. But you scroll along a feed and you find 10, 15 UFO videos. Half of them are AI, half of them are obvious fakes, and half of them are, a third of them are misidentified. Maybe it's something, but it just gets thrown into the bin and kind of dismissed.
Well, when you look at that, though, with the advent of social media, has that helped push the disclosure movement and the UFO movement in a positive or a negative? Because at first, when we look at especially X, Grant Cameron had nicknamed all these new people who came out after in 2017. He nicknamed them the Young Guns, and they really applied a lot of pressure using X to their advantage on politicians, on government officials to start taking this seriously. And eventually the government officials took a look and gained interest. So when you look at it from a media standpoint, has social media been a positive, a negative, or both for the UFO world?
I think it's been both. There have been a lot of instances of, and you've seen it, I know you've seen it, with people who are pushing out false narratives, or they're using the social media to promote their book, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everything is a product. Everything is out there to be sold. But when you're pushing, when you're pushing your own thing and then it's questionable at best, that's kind of a negative. But Twitter and Facebook and some of the pressure that they have been used to put on some of the politicians and some of the people in power, that has been positive. So, it's kind of back and forth.
When you look at the way politicians have reacted to this story, what is your thoughts about them taking this story seriously? And is it good for their political career to be in the forefront of a UFO story that many people still do not believe?
I think most of them are going to be in front of it as long as they can use it to keep themselves in their constituents' vision in a positive way. If something happened, like I question some of them with the idea that back when they had the original hearings, a year ago now? Was it a year ago or 2 years?
2 years ago.
Yeah, gosh, time goes so fast. You have Luna and Burchett basically talking about, wanting to get in skiffs and wanting answers and this and that, and they want to reveal them to the public. And it was like last week, I believe it was Luna was talking about the information that she had. Okay. If the whole goal and point of those was to get this information out and release it to the people, why, if she knows something, and she said that she couldn't really confirm anything or anything like that. If she knows it, why isn't she releasing it? That was the whole point of the hearings, wasn't it?
Well, I mean, here they are. They've been talking transparency, but right now it's only transparency to those in position.
Exactly.
How does that translate into transparency for the public?
Well, is that some part of the government trying to just sell a narrative to the people who can then sell it to the public? Uh, Where is the product here? What is the goal? And I don't mean to sound like I'm angry, but you know, disclosure is the product potentially from the government. What is the government's goal? What are they trying to sell? And if we look at it as they're trying to sell, um, you know, that they're going to release the idea or, release the proof that there are aliens out there. Why has it taken so long? What are they really trying to accomplish with this?
But you see, here's one of the things, Everett, and you just hit the nail on the head. The other day on Fox News, Tim Burchett basically said, this isn't about little green men. And I'm paraphrasing here. This isn't about little green men or flying saucers. This is about trying to find out where the trillions of dollars annually go missing. Right there, he's talking out of both sides of his mouth. Is it about the money that's going missing, the taxpayer money, which is extremely important, especially when you're dealing with trillions of dollars? Okay, if it was a couple billion, nobody would care. Couple trillion, people need to know about that. Number one. But number two, here he is talking about, if you've seen the videos I have seen, you'd burn your world down.
And
Okay.
what is the purpose of somebody saying that?
Well, that brings up my next point that I've been saying, and I know you listen to the show, and you've probably heard me say it recently. We keep getting these WWE type wrestling promos from these politicians about this subject, about how they're going to step into the squared circle and they're going to suplex whoever gets in their way. And yet, is it about UFOs or the trillions of dollars? And I got to tell you, Everett, one of the things that I know, I have always been known as the woo guy. I love the woo. I do. But I can tell you, this whole UFO disclosure plan over the last few years has really made me fickle. And I never use the word fickle on this show, but I'm going to use it describing myself today. I find myself becoming more skeptical, more jaded, more analytical with what's going on, because my idea of disclosure is tell us the truth. Okay. I don't care about the free energy. I don't care about the propulsion systems. I don't care about the time travel that got him here, although that would be kind of cool to learn. All three of them. What I care about is the people who have had a major experience in their life, whether they've seen a UFO up close and personal or flying through the sky, or whether they've been abducted or had some sort of contact or downloads. And all they really want to know is, why me? I care about the personal side of this, Everett. And as we got about 10 seconds to go, and I'll get your comments after we get back from the break, I think there's a real disparity between the disclosure they want to provide and the disclosure that the public wants. And those are two bridges that cannot connect. And that's a big problem that we're going to have. Everett Themer from the Themer Group out of the beautiful state of Illinois is here tonight. The marketing of UFOs, media, disclosure, and government secrets continues with Everett and myself, Dave Scott, in the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. All right, we are clear. Remember, our audience can still hear us. Hello to Mike Arrington, the lovely, the talented Jessica Jones, a cryptid huntress. How are you? And who else has shown up here? Gorgeous Kim Jellin, currently flossing her teeth as we speak. Guaranteed. She'll let a comment know in the chat room that that's actually happening. And let's see here. Who else is showing up here? Mm-hmm. I never said that I was disregarding time travel. If you heard that, what I fully said was I said it does interest me. It's just not a priority to people for me right now. The people are important. But and everybody's going to have, and I'm not saying you're wrong, Demi. I'm not saying you're wrong at all. Okay? Everybody's disclosure is different. Everybody's disclosure is different. Mine is different from Everett's, who is different from yours, who is different from everybody in the audience, right? All we can do is give an opinion.
What if time travel has nothing to do with aliens? What if it is legitimately just us traveling back and forth? Well, not us, but older us?
Could be. Could be. It's a nice shirt you got on, Ev.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. It's got the little cars and guitars on it.
Have you seen that new Slash bottle of Jack Daniels shaped like a Les Paul?
No, but I'm going to have to drink one of those. I mean, get one of those.
Dude, I want one. That bottle will never open. If I get one of those bottles, I'll never open it. It'll just sit there. It'll add to my bar right here that I have with the Night Train, the Abduction Whiskey, the Dark Matter Beer, and the Alien Tequila.
Yeah, the market's getting flooded with music-related and novelty beverages.
I'm okay with that. Makes it more fun.
Well, you know, Rick Nielsen from Cheap Trick has the Rockin' Vodka. And I just don't see, there's nothing that makes it stand out from any other middle-of-the-road vodka.
Let me pop a Tums here. And a refill.
I popped mine before the show.
Yep. Yeah. If you're new here, don't forget to give us a thumbs up. Helps with the algorithms. Yes, 23rd Neo. Welcome. I believe this might be your first time in here. We are a hybrid between a live radio show on terrestrial radio, not the fake radio online. We are a YouTube channel that is live where you are. We're also live on Facebook, X, and Twitch, and LinkedIn. And this also gets recorded to a podcast section, which you could find on Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, or any major podcast network that you can download for free. So we do a lot of different hybridizing here in the medium, but our focus is on terrestrial radio. C. Kenzo, how you doing? Welcome. And InsureTech, welcome. You like sake saucer? I haven't heard of that. Have you heard of sake saucer, Everett?
No, what is it?
I don't know. I'm going to assume it's sake as a spaceship. That sounds good, though. App Nuts, how you doing? We're coming back in 15 seconds. Thank you to T-Bone and Pam for our super chats. Super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis, everybody. So thank you. K17 Odd, how are you? Here we go with the second half hour of Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott. We appreciate you tuning us on in wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Everett Themer, marketing specialist. We'll talk UFOs here momentarily. But first, we want to remind all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives on YouTube or any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. From the state of Illinois, Everett Themer is here. He owns a company called the Themer Group, which is a media marketing company. And he also looks into UFOs, the media, disclosure and the government secrets. And that's what we are talking about tonight. And Everett, it really is difficult to try and figure out disclosure if there are so many different definitions of what disclosure is. To you, what does disclosure of UFOs mean?
To me, it's the physical. It's they parade an alien or a verified non-terrestrial craft in front of the people. That's where I stand with it.
That's the easy answer.
Sometimes the easy answer is the best answer.
I do get that. And I agree with you 100% on that. I would love to see a craft, a real craft. Have it, truck it on down, put it on the White House lawn and say, this is Roswell. This is what we found. Right? Not a little fragment, not a little piece of what looks like steel or aluminum or titanium. Bring the craft. I think that would be wonderful. However, do you think because of the fear-mongering that has gone into this subject, do you think the term national security gets a little bit overblown when it comes to UFOs?
Yeah, I do. I think you can bury a lot of things under the idea of national security. And, you can, I understand the idea of the government having secrets. I'm fine with the government having secrets. They may be doing something out at Area 51. And if you and I know about it, so does North Korea, so does China, so does Russia. So all the money that they spent to develop that, and I live in Illinois, so I pay a lot of taxes. All that money's wasted. So it's okay to have secrets. But if they just drip out a little thing here, a little piece there, the UFO community is never going to be satisfied. There will always be a large portion of the community saying, well, that's not disclosure. That doesn't prove anything. I think we've done this long enough that if it's going to be disclosure, then it's definitive proof of alien life on another planet and their ability to get here.
Is it about aliens? In your opinion, is this about UFOs and aliens? Because here's what I have noticed, and I've taken some heat over this, okay? I really have. Okay? And that is my definition from what I have been told by sources, the difference between UFOs and UAP, unidentified anomalous phenomena. Now, I have been told UAP are man-made objects. And I have noticed, because as a media person, you'll understand when I say this, the story is always read between the lines. You never read what's there. You have to read between the lines that tells you the real story of what is going on. And I'm sure you concur with that.
Yes.
So been able to notice that everybody from the president on down has separated UFOs from UAP.
Which is a little bit of a change from 2017, isn't it? When they were kind of trying to urge everybody to just quit using UFO and use UAP.
Absolutely. Absolutely it is. However, if we're hiding man-made objects that are made at skunk works and maybe put together and tested at places like Area 51 or Area 52 in Utah or Wright-Patterson in Ohio. Okay. We're going to be, Everett, looking for objects that are ours. So are we protecting, in this media standpoint, are we protecting American technology, or are we trying to really sort out the difference between what a UFO is and what an unidentified anomalous phenomena is?
Could we be mixing the two of them together? I mean, remember, it wasn't that long ago when the CIA and the Defense Department were using the idea of UFOs to hide things and basically mix everything together. Why separate it now? Why try and differentiate between a UAP that you're trying to hide from the general public and a UFO that may be from another planet? If you are genuinely trying, and this is where the marketing comes in, if you are genuinely trying to hide the Defense Department projects, so you're promoting the UFO concept, it doesn't make any sense to then differentiate and separate them again.
Okay, let me follow up with this then. What is the difference between marketing this subject as a threat narrative and propaganda?
It's a fine line. First, you have to determine kind of what part of the government is trying to sell what to the public. If the goal is to make this seem like it's some sort of, threat from another world, they're doing a really bad job of it. But it becomes propaganda when they really try and again, it's a fine line, but when you start to try and push that fear and manipulate the people's actions, that's where it becomes propaganda. They can sell you something. They can convince you of something. But when it goes into a larger number of people are digging bunkers under their house and stockpiling food, waiting for the aliens to come, then it potentially becomes propaganda, which in the United States is illegal, or at least it used to be, but things have changed in the last few years.
Very true. Very true. Do you think then by promoting a threat narrative that it is getting maybe propagandists where a lot of people are wondering, whether or not there's a false flag narrative coming up on this?
Well, let's look at it this way, though. Are they really promoting a threat narrative?
They had.
They have in the past, yeah. And they've kind of, it seems as though they've kind of backed off of that into this, we need to know what's going on. It's not nearly the imminent threat. And you and I had discussions about some of the things that were going on, that this really looks like they're pushing a threat kind of idea. I don't think that they're pushing that as hard. I don't think the general public feels that way right now. So what are they trying to push, and what are they trying to sell?
Well, you're the expert. You tell us, what are the possibilities on that?
Manipulation of, get people to look away from things. There are some conveniences, and I don't like to get into the political aspect of it, especially with everything that's going on now. But you look at when you look at Trump's first term, where he said, "Oh, maybe there's something, I don't have any real interest in that. I've never seen anything, but people tell me they've seen things." And then you look at today, where it's, a very prominent part of the political conversation at times. Why is it different? What changed in Trump's mind or in Congress's mind?
Could it be the reality of this subject being real and they're finally catching on? Or could it be the fact that, they are tired of something simple like trying to figure out where every year there's a couple $1 trillion missing from the defense budget?
I don't think it's that. I think there's more to the story. I think there is something going on. In fact, I'm, pretty positive of that. The difficult thing is figuring out what they're trying to sell, what story. And it changes. I mean, you look at Richard Doty with the idea of all the disinformation, but now we're supposed to trust everything that comes out. And then you have, Luna and Burchett, where they were talking about they want to release this information to the public. And then it was, I think, last week or the week before, where they're both talking about these things they saw in skiffs and discussed in skiffs, and they can't, if the public knew about it, it would change the way they saw things. It would affect them greatly. Well, I thought that was the point of the hearings and getting this stuff out to the people.
Well, that is the whole point, is it not? Is they keep telling us it's a good game, that they want to bring this out to the public, but they never seem to get there. It's like the never-ending tease.
So why? Let's look at it this way. Why are they teasing this so long? I mean, there was a genuine chance to make a difference back in 2017. Now, for whatever reason, that fell apart. You and I had some discussions about Tom DeLonge and the idea of it just, he wasn't the guy and that kind of thing. But what is, if the purpose is disclosure, they're not really making an effort to disclose anything. Now I got to think about it.
Unless it's about protecting. Disclosure is about protecting.
Protecting what, though?
The current technologies. I mean, if you go back to the 90s, the late Ben Rich saying we've already got the technology to get ET home again. Saying at that point, he felt they were about 50 years ahead of what the public sees.
Yeah, I'll give you that. But, I think if they were trying to protect things, and to a certain extent they are, but I don't think that they would be having, it's the government putting a lot of this in front of the people with the hearings, and you have the quote unquote whistleblowers. The government could go back. I don't know if you remember back in the mid 90s with the whole idea of Area 51. And I think it was Popular Science or Popular Mechanics really pushed to get Clinton to discuss that. And, they basically made a statement. And I think it was Popular Mechanics wrote an article about it, and then it faded away again. Okay. It was acknowledged that Area 51 existed and people moved on. Here we just kind of have a repeated, even when the government fumbles things, and I would argue that Grush and some of these whistleblowers have been fumbled. They keep trying. And, I don't know. And that's the part that keeps me up at night, is the idea of disclosure isn't about disclosure. There's something else.
What, in your mind, what is that something else?
I don't know. I only sell things. I'm not smart enough to huh?
Is it control?
Could be. I mean, that would kind of make sense, wouldn't it? I mean, control and distraction. And I hate to sound like the conspiracy theorist, and I don't want to, get too political, but I think there are political motivations with what we're seeing right now.
And how would those political motivations work for or against the public? Because I think you bring up a good point there.
Well, it only works against the public because it distracts them and prevents them from noticing, gaining, finding other information.
Do you think this is maybe a political gamesmanship to try and figure out what or how or who the military industrial complex is all about and who is running the deep state? Does it go that deep?
I don't think this has much to do with the deep state at all. I think this has to do with distraction, selling. If we keep talking about it, but nothing really gets resolved, the government can just keep on moving. That black money can keep on rolling into those Defense Department contracts. The information that maybe doesn't need to or doesn't want to be released, it just kind of doesn't come out. We keep talking about aliens. I mean, we've done this for 20 years. We talk in circles. There's nothing really new, but there's the government kind of poking and pushing and leading people on to keep on talking about it.
All right. So let me ask you this, because this gets back into the media standpoint as well. Is this an important story? And should we even be looking at this story right now? Is it worth it?
I think it's important to a lot of people. I think that at times the UFO community and the paranormal communities kind of overestimate their importance and their numbers in the community. When you look at some of these shows that the History Channel or Discovery Channel, those types of shows, those are popular, but to an extent, but they're put out not for the UFO community. They're put out kind of for those casual viewers who have an interest and they want to hear something interesting that kind of draws them in for a little bit, but it doesn't make them part of the UFO community or all of a sudden they're on UFO Twitter doing deep dives on Roswell or the UFO O'Hare UFO event, that kind of thing.
Okay. What, in your opinion, then, is the game plan? Because here's the benefit that the government has, and I think you'll agree with this. Okay? They have full control of the media of this subject because the media for decades did not know how to take this story seriously. And then they got caught with their microphones pointed to the ground. I think we could agree on that.
I would definitely agree with that.
When you have an uneducated media covering a subject that they're having to learn on the fly, that benefits those who are providing the information, like the government. We'll give you the witnesses. If you go back to 2017, okay, when the To the Stars Academy came out, the media wasn't interviewing Richard Dolan. They weren't interviewing Grant Cameron or even the late Stanton Friedman at that point. They weren't. The To the Stars Academy said, don't worry, we got you covered. We got DeLong. We got Elizondo. We got Chris Mellon. You don't need anybody else. We'll be there for you. We'll tell you the story, leading that narrative. And the media basically saying, okay, we'll go with what your guy is in the know. They're not going to lead us astray. The government's working that same angle right now because after the TTSA died down, then there was a lull in the media because they only had 3 videos to play from. Okay. And that's all they were spoon fed.
And they weren't impressive videos to begin with.
No, they were not. Okay. But here's I guess my point on this. Now, looking forward, we're supposed to trust the government through the media's message. And this isn't the media's fault. But we're supposed to trust the government's word for word on this. If you talk to anybody about this outside of this UFO subject, they will, and you ask them the question, do you trust your government? The majority of people out there will say no. No, I do not. They do not have my best interests at heart. But yet when it comes to UFOs, we have people literally defending the government, saying, this is what they got. This is what they've given us. There obviously isn't any more, or they would give it to us. It's like this charade being played through the media. How does that work?
Well, here's the thing with the media, the mainstream media anyway. If you look at the Big 10, the CNNs, the Fox News, the News Nations, and then your over-the-air network kind of things, except for News Nation, who is doing generally pretty deep dives on the subject, most of them at best are giving the typical 2.5 minute segment to the stuff at this point. There's nobody doing really deep dives. They squeeze it in between, the weather report and the car accident on the expressway. It's not, like I said, the UFO community blew the chance to keep itself mainstream. What 2019, somewhere in there.
How did they blow it?
I think that there was no progress, right? Remember, we're talking about selling these ideas to people who have a general interest in the topic. I mean, you and I can sit and do deep dives and scour YouTube and discuss UFOs for hours on end. But to the average person out there, it holds their interest maybe 10 minutes. They'll tell you, yeah, it's likely that there's life out there somewhere, but maybe they kind of think they've visited here. Maybe they don't think they've visited here yet. And that's who we're marketing to. So when you look at 2017, 2018, 2019, and it just kind of became the same story or non-story over and over again, I think a lot of the public moved on. And then when UFO Twitter became a thing and the drama kind of started spilling out into the regular world, I know there were a number of people, a decent percentage of the general population, turned off by the idea of, look at all these crazy people talking about UFOs again, and nothing's different, nothing's new. I think that's how it was blown.
We have just under a minute to go here before we have to go to break at the top of the hour. Media specialist Everett Themer from the Themer Group out of the state of Illinois is here with us tonight. As we move forward, how does the media portray this? Or do you think the media is done with the story? I mean, if there's no more tranches, or they're not announcing when the tranches are coming out, or the videos of quality UFOs, how quickly will the media turn away from this story?
Except for News Nation, I think unless there's some sort of bigger development, something new, something worthy of talking about that hasn't been discussed before, I think it's going to stay relegated to that 2-3 minute segment.
So it's just another story, a mid-place story.
Yeah.
That makes sense. When we return on Spaced Out Radio with our guest, Everett Themer, we're going to get into the cover-up. What is going on with the government cover-up? Why do they not want to tell us what's going on with UFOs, UAP, the scientists, and so much more? Remember, in the media, if it bleeds, it leads. And maybe that's what we're looking for in the next stories. This is Spaced Out Radio with host
hate Scott.
That's what the UFO community needs, is a good abduction story.
Right? All right, Ev, we're going to play a quick video. We got about 5.5 minutes, okay?
Nifty.
Our merch is Bigfoot approved. We have t-shirts, we have mugs, we have hoodies, we have socks, we have hats, we have stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can buy Spaced Out Radio merch and look the part? Our merch ain't ugly, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Lurking within the forested region of the 108-mile ranch, where the worlds of the normal and paranormal collide. CaribouCon is waiting for you, bringing together a panel of renowned experts in the paranormal, cryptid research, and UFO phenomena fields. Get ready for a spine-tingling weekend in the heart of British Columbia. Enjoy fascinating discussions, presentations, tours of local haunted areas, and skywatching. Learn from investigators, authors, and enthusiasts who explore everything from ghost hunting techniques to sightings of Sasquatch and beyond. Whether you're a seasoned paranormal researcher or just love a good spooky story, this is your chance to connect with fellow enthusiasts in one of BC's most mysterious areas. Tickets are on sale now. Grab yours before they're gone. Visit CaribouCon.com for details, tickets, and updates.
Are you ready to dive into the weird and wonderful world of cryptids, cartoons, and chaos? Meet Dirty Filth, Spaced Out Radio's resident cartoonist and master of the mysterious. Every Saturday at 2 p.m. Pacific, join him live on the Spaced Out Radio YouTube channel for Cryptid Cartoons with Dirty Filth, a hilarious hour where he sketches bizarre beasts, shares mind-bending stories, and battles his mischievous cats. Whether you're a UFO enthusiast, paranormal fan, or just love quirky art, Dirty Filth filters the universe through his unique lens, creating cartoons that capture the strange, dark, and supernatural. Follow Dirty Filth on X at Filth1 or Facebook at Dear Filth for more filthy fun. Find his link in the description below.
Spaced Out Radio wants to hear from you. We love our community, and your voice truly matters. Drop a comment after every show and let us know what you thought. Agree with our guests? Tell us why. Disagree? We want to hear that too. We read every single comment. Jump into the live chat during the broadcast and be part of the conversation in real time. Got a killer topic idea? Your suggestions help shape the show. And if you want to take it even further, join our Patreon for bonus content and direct feedback opportunities with Dave and the team. This is your show as much as it is ours. Whether you're a longtime listener or brand new, we want your thoughts, your questions, and your ideas. And let's keep building this incredible community together. Spaced Out Radio, where the conversation never ends. What are you waiting for? We're listening.
With 5 explorable Gold Rush-era buildings said to be home to spirits of a time forgotten, the 108-mile heritage site in the heart of BC's Caribou region offers a unique opportunity for thrill seekers and history buffs. For an evening of historical fun, Step into our guided ghost tours, where spine-chilling stories of gold rush legends and unexplained encounters come alive. For those craving even more, inquire with us about conducting a hands-on paranormal investigation of your own. And if you're truly brave, book our haunted sleepovers. Spend the night at our B&B inside the McNeil House to truly experience this historical landmark and its ghostly secrets firsthand. For booking or inquiries, go to haunted108.com.
All right, we are 40 seconds away from coming back. Big thank you to 23rd Neo, ×2, T-Bone, and Pam for the super chats. We greatly appreciate your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. Thank you very much. If you haven't already, do us a favor, give us a thumbs up. It helps with the algorithms of the show and on YouTube and everywhere else that we broadcast from, except radio. Doesn't help on the radio. Thumbs up don't work there. We're coming back in 10 seconds, everybody. We're kicking off hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Thank you very much for joining us as we continue on with Everett Themer talking about the media, the marketing of UFOs from a governmental point of view. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Pancosmism? There we go. Pancosmism. Or pancosmism. I don't know. One of those two. As the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's bring in Everett Themer. He is from the Themer Group out of the state of Illinois, and we are looking at the marketing aspect of UFOs, podcasts, YouTube channels, documentaries, movies like Disclosure Day coming up, Everett. You looking forward to that?
Well, you know, Spielberg has a history of the great summer blockbuster.
Let's talk about this for a second, because there's a lot of interesting things happening right now. Since Donald Trump announced that he was going to release the UFO files, all of a sudden, a couple months before that, Steven Spielberg announced that the movie Disclosure Day was going to come out. And then we find out shortly around that time, when this movement happened from the White House, that July 6th was going to be the date of release. And as soon as the files come out, we hear Neil deGrasse Tyson, who has been, one of the biggest enemies towards the UFO subject, the UFO scientists, the UFO public, all of a sudden has a book out about what should we do about first alien contact? How would we react? It almost seems like some of these people were tipped off. What do you think?
Well, starting with Disclosure Day, Spielberg has a long history. I mean, and he's done some alien movies, a few here and there. And you look at Close Encounters of the Third Kind, where he put Hynek in one of the closing scenes. He's obviously had a history and an interest in UFOs. But making a movie takes years. And in fact, there were 42 drafts of the script written. That doesn't happen overnight. So when people talk about the timing of the movie, it was completed, in early 2025, the shooting was completed. but the idea and the screenplays were in the works for several years before that, in various stages. It starts as kind of like an idea, and I know that Spielberg had said that there was an article that kind of re-piqued his interest in UFOs. The timing is interesting, but I would say that you could probably, anytime in the past decade, if the movie were to come out, you could say the timing is interesting. I mean, the typical movie from start to finish, from the idea to the screenplay to having it released, is about 3 years, 3.5 to 4 years. And we're talking 115, was it 115 or $120 million budget on this movie. So they're going to play up any aspects they can to tie it into what's going on today. I think most of it's just coincidental.
It's a pretty big coincidence, don't you think?
Okay, what if it had been released in 2018? Would it be coincidence?
I think there'd be more openness to it. But look, I'm not denying the movie. I'm gonna watch it. I'm excited about it.
I'm gonna go.
My son and I, we were watching a preview the other day during one of the hockey games. Okay, during one of the intermissions during the hockey game, Disclosure Day came up, and he was fascinated by it. I'm like, "Hey, son, do you want to go see that?" He's like, "Oh yeah, Dad." I said, "Well, we have to do something first before we watch that." He goes, "What's that?" I said, "We need to watch Close Encounters of the Third Kind. We have to. Then you'll understand what this is all about, number one. But number two, then you'll understand what Daddy's radio show is all about."
Fair
Right?
enough.
And he's absolutely thrilled for that father-son date night, right? And I'll be honest with you, I'm a little excited about it too. I just hope that movie comes to my one theater, my one screen theater, right? If it does, I mean, sometimes movies just keep on driving past us. But nonetheless, what about Neil deGrasse Tyson then?
It is curious, isn't it, that he releases that book? I don't know that he's been so much the biggest enemy to the UFO community. I think he looks at it with a very mechanical, skeptical approach. And, when you look at it from that position, we don't have a lot of things. I mean, we don't even get anymore the events. I want to say, was it like the late 70s to mid 80s, where there was some form of physical evidence, whether it be depressions in the ground or broken branches or some sort of acknowledgement that something had landed or been there. We don't even get that anymore. So,
but let me just stop you there for a second, because I think you bring up a very good point. How has the momentum of social media changed that, though? Because the minute people see something, they put it online. And because, like, even if you look at Facebook, you could have your maximum 5,000 friends, but I think their algorithms only allow you to see, at one point, it was only 7% of the people who you're friends with online, depending on what you were talking about. The algorithms were dedicating that. And now that they've gone to promoting groups and advertisements, I think that number is even lower now, maybe around 3 to 4% of the people you see.
But that really shouldn't matter, because if some random video of a second sun is showing up in my feed or your feed, if somebody finds something that is some form of physical evidence that something had been here, of course they're going to take out their phone and they're going to video it, and they're going to put it on TikTok, or they're going to put it on Facebook, and it's going to make the rounds. somebody's going to see it. And I think something like that would be shared more and more, and somebody within the UFO community would see it. But when is the last time that anybody saw a credible video of some sort of physical, I hate to use the term evidence because that implies that, we're talking metamaterials or something like that, but a credible occurrence where some sort of acknowledgement was left?
Well, isn't that the point though? Right? Because you're sitting there, you're trying to make adjustments on the social media to find these topics. And if you're not in the algorithm part of it all, you're never going to see them. In the meantime, you're seeing a bunch of crap that you have nothing to do with. But if you accidentally view it once, because say you recognize somebody in a picture or whatever, and you're like, what's that all about? Now your whole algorithm has changed in that 10 seconds of looking at it.
Well, with the algorithm, what's curious about that is, I scroll a lot of UFO stuff, a lot of government conspiracy type stuff, that kind of thing. I can accidentally click on a post about some recipe or something, and immediately my whole feed changes to taste of home and vintage recipes, and it takes like several days of going back and re-looking at UFO type stuff to get it back to that normal. It almost immediately changes.
I wish it happened for me that way. The weirdest one that ever happened to me was it was a night I was off this show. It was a weekend night. And I was preparing, I think, the website or whatever. And I thought to myself, I said, you know what? I didn't even say it out loud. I'm craving potato chips. And I never crave potato chips, ever. But I knew we had a bag of Miss Vicky's potato chips up in the cupboard. So I went upstairs, didn't take my phone with me, got them, came back down, opened up the bag, started eating chips. Within a couple of minutes, maybe 2 minutes maximum, all of a sudden, Miss Vicky's potato chips ads started coming right through my feed.
Yeah, that's a whole nother story or a whole nother
topic,
that's
isn't it?
I
We
mean,
got to get into one day.
And that's changing too with AI and RFID chips and Bluetooth, your phone attaching to Bluetooth in the stores where it can track what you are standing near. If you walk down the aisle and let's say you're hovering about halfway where, maybe you're tired of Miss Vicky potato chips. So you're kind of hovering by the Lay's potato chips or the Jay's potato chips. They can track that and target you enough to know that you're standing near these brands and spending some time in front of them. And then your ads can change to that.
That would be freaky.
It's not freaky. It's Bluetooth and your phone connecting to it, even if your Bluetooth is off.
That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Back to UFOs though, because I know in the next half hour, there are going to be a few audience questions for you.
Fantastic.
How do you sum up this next 3 to 6 months? David Grush has come out and said over the next 60 to 90 days, there is going to be a flood of information that will push the disclosure movement forward. We've heard things like this before. How do you feel about a statement like that?
I want to be excited about it. David Grush presents his own set of challenges as a whistleblower. He has his detractors. He has his supporters. I think that when you look at his story as a whole, I have a lot of questions and a lot of suspicions. His phrasing of things is interesting. The way he's described and said some things, being vague and kind of implying things. So when he says something like that, I want to be excited. But I look at it sort of with a skeptical eye. It's kind of a wait and see type thing now, because we've heard that from so many people so often in the past years, and we never really move forward. And like the very first congressional hearings, everybody had so much hope in those, didn't they? We were expecting so much. And when it was all said and done, it was all skiffs, and I can't say that, in public, and we were left with really nothing. And maybe I'm cynical, but that's where we're going to be in 6 months.
Well, let's look at that cynicism here, because there are a number of people out there saying, my God, people, shows like yours, YouTube channels, people in the UFO community are such idiots. You guys for years have been begging for disclosure, begging for any knowledge to come out, begging for somebody to open their mouth within the Pentagon or within the US government. You finally got it, and you're not even satisfied. You're tearing it apart. Can't you just be satisfied? We have a lot of those people right now.
Yes. But let me ask you this. Who is, let's say we're talking government disclosure. Who is the government targeting with that disclosure? Is it the passive person out there who just has a general interest, and they feel that there's probably life out there somewhere, but maybe they don't completely buy that it's been here? Or are they targeting the UFO community? Because in my opinion, I'm leaning towards the idea that they're not targeting the UFO community at all. They can let them fight amongst themselves. It's the general public, the hundreds of millions of people out there that they believe this or they believe that, but they're not doing the deep dives. Those are the people that the government, in my opinion, is trying to convince, nudge. In marketing, everything's a product, and there's always a call to action. I don't know exactly what they would expect the call to action to be for the general public, but maybe it's just the idea of constantly putting it in front of them.
But they're putting their story in front, not the real story, or what we may perceive as the real story.
Well, that's part of the issue, though, isn't it? We don't know what the real story. Everything is a guess. I mean, even with Roswell, where we've discussed that at length for 30 years, there's people that say they have the real story, and there's people that say they have the real story, and they're different stories. And, no, we don't really know the real stories. It's kind of the job of somebody like you to sort of discern and massage the information out of people, and with getting that information from multiple people, we can kind of put together what maybe a general consensus of what happened in a specific situation, but we're still not at 100% positive we have the truth.
Do you think, as we got about 5 minutes to go, Everett Themer is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. Do you think we are in possession of UFOs and alien bodies, or live aliens?
I lean towards more than likely we do, but the skeptic in me also understands that, when you have people out there talking about how, there's a crash here and a crash there, when it becomes so overwhelmingly large numbers of crashes, it pushes me away from it a little bit, but I lean towards the idea that, yeah, we have something.
Do you think then that that will ever come out? And would it benefit the government releasing the file that we have crash retrievals in alien bodies?
I don't think it would. I don't think the government would want to release it. I don't think it would benefit the government to release it. And I think it would cause more problems if it were released for the government.
What kind of problems do you see happening?
Can I quote
you? Be a media nightmare.
Can I quote you from years ago?
Sure.
Well, I mean, if they released all this stuff, then they have an entire population that now realizes they were lying to them for 70 years about one of the biggest stories in humanity. And I think that would be, I think that would cause a lot of problems for the government. I don't think they want to face that. And you're the one that's actually convinced me of that over the years.
Imagine what would happen if they released that UFO Pandora's box. What would be in there? Imagine just for a second, even if you don't believe this topic, imagine for a second that people's names are on the list. Regular citizens' names are on a list, and the government knows you're being taken. Just like AI knows about the bag of potato chips that was in my head that all of a sudden is showing up on Facebook ads on my computer. Imagine your name. Imagine all of a sudden they release the files and Everett Themer is on there, and you're always like, is that me? Or is it another Everett Themer?
Well, there aren't a lot of us, so it's probably me. But to your point, and I think you make an excellent point, what if somebody was abducted and not brought back, or was killed, or just completely disappeared, and the government knew about it? And now their name's on that list, but wait a minute, they were found dead under mysterious circumstances, or they've been missing and nobody knows where they've ever been. That could open up not only a big can of worms in terms of mistrust, but then do you sue the government? I mean, if the government allowed your son to be abducted and he didn't come back, what would your response be? If the government confirmed that they had let that happen?
That would bring on the biggest class action lawsuit probably in the history of the United States, and it could collapse the government.
Yeah. So why would the government be the ones to initiate honest disclosure?
So are you saying that the best thing that they could do is play dumb on this subject?
I think they kind of have to just keep pushing. In the scenario we're talking about, they kind of have to keep pushing it down the road. Maybe they release a little bit of something here and there that indicates that maybe they might know something, but I don't think we're ever going to get somebody coming in front of Congress with, an alien. There's never going to be a Valiant Thor walking into Congress. There's never going to be a UFO parked under the UFC thing at the White House. It's not going to happen.
Well, when we return from the break here, coming up in about 40 seconds, we're going to take some audience questions here, because I know that there are questions that they have regarding this disclosure movement. Everybody is confused. Everybody is confused. Yes, we're happy the files are being released. Yes, we're all happy that there is hopefully going to be more. Yes, we're excited to see them, even though we got to prepare for a nothing burger once again. And we have to be satisfied that Roswell will likely not come out. If the media isn't pushing their questions about NASA and other groups, the story will remain a secret. And maybe in the end, that's what the government wants, while giving us these little pieces of information to get us excited. But the big story, they're going to keep to their own under national security. This is Spaced Out Radio. listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott. All right, we're clear. This is good times. It's flying by, buddy. Hold on. I thought I unclicked your mute button. Sorry about that.
It's kind of like being at home.
Yeah. Well, you know what I feel about that.
You know what's going to happen.
Sooner rather than later.
Okay.
I know you're excited.
For what?
We'll talk.
It's weird being on this side of the microphone. For all, I mean, even when I was doing your news and we were having fun and things like that, it's just weird being on this side of the microphone.
Well, maybe he needs to find some time to get on the other side.
You know what's going to happen.
That's what they all say. What flavor are we vaping here?
It's just straight tobacco flavor. Actually, I have a couple of them. I'm trying to quit. I got to quit. And it's the one vice I have left. I mean, I'm sad to say I haven't even had an entire pot of coffee today.
Everett used to drink between 50 and 70 cups of coffee a day.
Remember when people didn't believe us?
I didn't believe it until... Still don't believe it. OnlyFans, Marco, how you doing, buddy? We got 2.5 minutes.
It's weird having commercial breaks.
I know. Are you in the main house or are you in the studio house?
I'm in, well, my son moved out, so he got his own place. So I'm in his old bedroom, and I'm trying to convince Tracy not to use it as an extra bedroom because that encourages guests to stay, and I don't want that. So I've...
Definitely don't want that.
No. I was worried there for a second we were going back.
Nope. We got just under 2 minutes.
All right. Yeah, I just I'm kind of what's the word I'm looking for? I'm asserting my dominance on this room. Because
nice.
You know, it's a good room to store amps in.
I think you should light one of them up.
I just bought a whole bunch of crate combo tube amps. I don't know why, but I did.
It's a nice comment. Love boarding the Woo train. Absolutely. Stay epic. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. I like our audience. They're nice.
I love your audience.
Except for Evan Walters. He just pisses me off. Showing up late. My goodness. What a guy.
I can remember a few people that really just wanted to get in there and cause trouble back in the day.
Me and the mods have really done a good job at, you need good moderators who understand what you're trying to do. And our mods are fantastic at blocking the bullshit that comes out. You know, the minute somebody says something stupid or racist or whatever, they're right in on it.
Nice.
You know, that's what you need to have a good channel. The mods need to be great. And we're lucky. We're very lucky. Thank you to 23rd Neo ×2, T-Bone and Pam for the super chats. Here we go, the next half hour. We're into the second half of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Big topic as we go into UFOs, the media, the marketing, the disclosure of UFOs. Everett Themer from Themer Group is here. He's based out of Illinois. And Everett, thank you for being here.
Hey, Dave, it's wonderful to be here. It's been a long time.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. A lot of fun. Let's get to a couple of audience questions right off the bat. Start off with Paramarv here. From a marketing perspective, how helpful has the UFO releases been for Disclosure Day? How likely is that it was coordinated?
Oh, I think it's worked out perfectly for Spielberg. Was it coordinated? I don't know that it was necessarily coordinated. I think you could kind of throw an arrow at the calendar and come up with a time that you could say, oh, the UFO activities or the UFO community activity would benefit the movie here. But the fact is, if he didn't do it now, he would have to hold on to it for another year for it to be a summer release. And really, it's the kind of movie that needs to be a summer release. So if they don't do it now and they have to hold on to it for another year, I mean, that's $120 million they're just sitting on. So I think I think that it's convenient. It all works out good, but I don't think that there was like any secret plan to have the files released, right before the movie.
Then, it's just him getting lucky. And sometimes people have the luck.
It's Spielberg. I mean, I don't imagine you can be much luckier than Spielberg.
Oh, right. Right. But it does go to show, though, on a sidebar, how much people crave this subject. You look at, I remember when Tucker Carlson was on Fox News, he literally would see his numbers shoot straight up the minute he started talking UFOs. He could talk about the president, the former president, the current president, or anything historic, or he could talk about his interview with Putin or whatever. But the minute he talks UFOs, the numbers shoot up intensely. People want to know. People want to know.
People have an interest, but there's a differentiation between the deep diving people like your audience and the UFO community and the general public or a big part of the public. I mean, there are a lot of people that are going to go see this movie because they just like alien movies, and it's Spielberg and it's summer, and everybody goes to a summer blockbuster when it's Spielberg.
Of course.
I mean, even I may have dressed up as Batman back in the day, a long time ago.
I could see you doing that. I could totally see you doing that. All right. Let's go to another question. Let's go to T-Bone here. Everett, is something like John Keel's Operation Trojan Horse a possibility here?
I don't know. Maybe, but I don't think so. I think in a lot of ways, a lot of what we're seeing, there isn't much behind what we're seeing on the face of it. And I think that's the problem, that we're getting a lot of superficial information and a lot of superficial activity because that's all anybody has right now.
So for people wondering what Operation Trojan Horse is, it was the title of the highly influential 1970 UFO book by John Keel. And he chose the name Trojan Horse because of the ancient story of the Trojan horse. He suggested that UFOs may be a kind of modern day Trojan horse, something that appears to be one thing, spacecraft from another planet, while concealing a completely different reality behind it. So there's a little bit of a definition. Let's go to Kim in San Francisco. Could Everett outline a reasonable marketing strategy for UFO disclosure?
You'd have to pick which type of disclosure and what group. I mean, the person who has written a book and is promoting that book and has it, maybe at bookstores and on Amazon, is going to have an entirely different marketing strategy and marketing plan than the government or the people behind Ancient Aliens. It really depends on the person's situation or the event or the activity that's being marketed, because they are, while I think we talked about this early on, while we kind of lump everything in the UFO community as kind of together and kind of homogenous, there really is a big difference between how maybe Ancient Aliens would approach it and Steven Spielberg would approach it and somebody who's written a book would approach it. So it would be tough to just pick out like one sort of generic strategy.
All right, let's go to another one. Actually, before we do, okay, that is from a personal disclosure standpoint. But if you were sitting and advising the U.S. government or the Pentagon on this subject, or let's say you were working for the conspiracy club team that Anna Paulina Luna runs, okay, how would you market this story? Or how would you put out press releases? Or what would be the defining media coverage for you? How would you do it?
If were working for Luna, I would, assuming that her general, her goal is genuine disclosure, I would stop the way she's saying some of these things and talking about some of these things. And we would begin to kind of outline what is known, what was, discussed in the hearings, and add to that as much that could relate to it from both her personal experiences, her personal opinions and experiences, and other coverage of it, trying to kind of sort of create a cohesive narrative that would, and this is going to start sounding all technical or jargony, but a cohesive narrative that she could put out there that at least appears that things are moving forward until something actually does.
So realistically, it's not about the subject, it's about cohesion.
Yeah. I mean, the subject, again, it kind of goes back to, there really isn't anything new. And even in the stuff that they're releasing, there isn't anything new. So you kind of have to, it's kind of like the ShamWow guy. You got to sell a lot of nothing. And that's the best way to do it. Try and put together something that at least sounds cohesive and like it's moving forward. But, as a marketing person, it doesn't matter from a marketing perspective. It doesn't matter what the information is or how accurate necessarily the information is. The idea is to kind of, push the narrative.
But if we don't know what the narrative is, how do we know what narrative is being pushed?
Well, if I'm working, going back to if I'm working for Luna, I'm going to know what her narrative is, what she wants to put out there, what she wants her take and image and face to be for the topic. And that's what we would push. And if that is genuine disclosure, you have to you have to frame things carefully and put truths out there while not having any real truths that you can release. I'm assuming that, like, as a marketing person, or, you know, much of her staff wouldn't have actual knowledge of what was in the skiffs. So we have to put out what we can that's basically sounds good, that kind of matches her narrative. I mean, it becomes the game of politics at that point.
Let's go to another question here. Let's go to Charles here. Your thoughts on President Nixon supposedly taking Jackie Gleason to see UFOs? That topic has come up again.
You know, I think that happened.
I do too.
I don't know what they saw. I don't know what he showed them, but I genuinely think that happened, and he was shown something, whether it was some form of alien technology or maybe something that we had developed that was way ahead of its time. Something happened with that situation.
I think you're right on that. And apparently, according to Gleason's wife at the time, when he came back, he was a different man. Like, he wasn't as fun and lovable anymore.
And they say, if you watch his interviews after that, and even some of his movies after that, he almost has a more melancholy attitude and aura around him. Like he knows something that is, whether it be frightening or disappointing or scary, he knows something, and it all seems to have begun after Nixon supposedly took him out there.
Let's go to Super Crazy. How and when do you think some sort of significant disclosure will happen?
When some third world country shows off the UFO that landed or crashed in their territory.
I think that's a great answer. I really do. Could you imagine what would happen if, say, Zimbabwe all of a sudden had a UFO crash with beings, and you get the video being streamed that this is happening?
Yeah.
Right.
And what about the technology? Can you imagine one of these countries having that technology, figuring out a way to develop it, and then all of a sudden, you know, some country that isn't even on the superpower map or the world power map, all of a sudden has the ability to, you know, form an air force or invade another country out of the blue, or things like that?
I think that would go to whoever their ally is right off the bat, whether it's China, Russia, the USA, Great Britain, whoever it would be. It would go there right quickly.
Maybe, but there's a lot of motivation in that case to keep something like that to yourself.
Okay, well, let's flip the topic on this for a second. Let's say it's not a third world country. Let's say it's a modern country. Say New Zealand, Canada, France, Spain, Australia, Thailand, Japan. What if it happened there? What if one of those countries came out and said, we've had a crash retrieval, here it is?
Well, couldn't it be argued that, isn't it Australia that has potentially a crashed UFO at Pine Gap?
Yeah, but they're not. You can get closer to Area 51 than you can Pine Gap.
Well, the thing with countries like that is, in that case, I think you're right. When you have that many allies and you're so interdependent on the economies of other countries, and you're involved in the world economy, yes, then it's likely that something like that would happen. But if it were to land in Burmese or Myanmar, or I should say crash in Burmese or Myanmar, or one of those, dictatorship type, kind of off the mainstream world type countries, they have enough technology that they could develop things from a crashed craft on their own. And I think that they would keep it to themselves only to be able to use it as a weapon against the rest of the world.
Maybe, but also, do you not think, let's say it happened in one of the Five Eyes countries, Canada, Great Britain, Australia, New Zealand, and of course the US. What do you think would happen there if something did crash? Okay, would it all of a sudden be shuffled under the bed because they are allies together?
It could be. I don't think that any of those countries would share anything with the U.S. at this point in time. But again, those are developed countries that it makes sense for them to share it, to work with their allies, to develop something more than what it has, and learn from it. I think that, going back to the idea of disclosure, I think that a significant disclosure would likely come from, a country that's underdeveloped, that has no need to share it with the U.S. Maybe they're not an ally of the U.S. or not an ally of Canada or any of the European countries. It does them more good to develop it on their own and use it to their advantage.
All right, we got 7 minutes left with Everett Themer tonight on Spaced Out Radio. He's from the Themer Group based out of Illinois. Media marketing is his background. We're talking UFOs. Let's get to another question. I just saw this one punch in from Kim here, and I want to ask you this one. Everett, you said you took a hiatus from UFOs. What sparked the return?
I missed it. There was nothing in particular that happened that made me come back to it. It's one of those things that I've had the interest forever, since I was a kid. I walked away for a little bit, and then I realized I missed it. That's the long and the short story of it.
Here we go. Let's go to Jules. Do you think everything we see right now with this topic is curated?
That's a great question, because in some ways it is, isn't it? I mean, even if random people are posting things and you're seeing it on social media, your algorithm is curating it. I think a good portion of it is. What about you, Dave?
I'm of the thinking of this question that as long as there is a narrative, the story is being curated. As long as these so-called whistleblowers who, like Everett, I believe they are not whistleblowers because what they can say and can't say is still controlled by their NDAs. When we have government people coming out say, you should see what I see, but we don't get anything that they see, the entire narrative is being curated. This is why I've always said, I don't think we're in a disclosure movement. I believe we are in a confirmation movement. It's different to confirm the phenomena than it is to disclose the phenomena.
But do we have to explain the phenomena to confirm it?
I don't think.
I think we can all agree that there are a few varieties of strange things flying in the sky. It's kind of been confirmed. It's been been confirmed, but we have no general explanation for most of them, except for that balloon video they released again.
But this is why they've confirmed a UAP and not a UFO.
I'll give you that. I'm still not used to UAP. I'm old now. To me, everything's a UFO.
Yes, you also yell at people when they walk on your lawn.
I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely, as you should. Let's go to necessary dialogue. How is it possible for the government to prosecute a whistleblower over UFO information that they denied existed?
It's a great question, isn't it?
May I go first on this one?
Go ahead.
I think it's because we don't have a whistleblower just yet. We have people who have had experiences and sightings and encounters, but a true whistleblower doesn't need to seek permission from their bosses or their NDA or the OSDNI or whoever in order to speak. Everything that they are talking about, they're allowed to talk about. They haven't given anything in depth to get prosecuted over it. What's your thoughts, Everett?
I'll take it a little further. I don't know if you remember back in, it seemed to start kind of in the mid 90s when all of a sudden these former CIA operatives were coming out and talking about things, or go back to 1989 with Bob Lazar. I'm sure at some point somebody has released something that maybe they shouldn't have or could possibly be prosecuted on. But why would the government want to confirm that? It goes to confirming that they have information. If they want to deny things and have plausible denial and say they don't know anything, it's easier to make those people look foolish or ignore them than it is to prosecute them.
Very true. Very true. That's the big question. These people know things that they're not allowed to talk about. You look at Dylan Borland. There's a gentleman who allegedly lost his job, was unemployed when he was talking to Congress because he went through the proper steps of going through Arrow about his sighting that he had. And now he's been blacklisted over it.
And what about, I mean, I hate to bring him up too often, but what about Bob Lazar back in the late 80s, early 90s, before any of this, the current situation with UFOs developed? Why wasn't he prosecuted back in 90, 91, 92? A lot of the claims that he made were what some people would consider national security issues.
Very true. Very true. But they still haven't been able to prove that he's worked there. Outside of his word, there's nobody who has stepped up to the plate to say, yes, he's worked there. Now, do I believe Bob Lazar? 100%. Okay. I believe he worked there. Okay. I know somebody who is trying to prove that he worked there. He's waiting for a conversation to be set up with Lazar, because here's the thing that I was told about this. Okay. And you can ask about S4, you can ask about Papoose Lake, whatever it may be. But the real people who work at Area 51, they will tell you the janitor. What was the janitor's name who worked the night shift? Where was the concession? What building were the fire trucks in? What did the red lines on the floor mean? Everybody knows. And if he cannot answer those type of questions that would be basic to you and I, those people will be able to tell.
But he could have worked there as a tech or a janitor or a food service person, for what we know. My issue with Lazar is if he had all of these credentials and things like that, and the government erased his history. If I looked hard enough, I could still go find a canceled check that I wrote to the college for textbooks. And
hold that thought, Everett. You know what, Everett? We're going to steal you for another hour with Grant here. On the
sweet.
UFO. You're not allowed to leave. Hour 3 is next.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
I'm sorry, I should have asked you first, but there, buddy.
You know, I'm always up for this.
All right, we're going to watch another video here and we'll be right back.
Stop now! You're under arrest! Hands up! Don't move!
Don't get caught without your spaced out radio merchandise. We have t-shirts, mugs, hoodies, socks, hats, stickers, and so much more. Whatever you're looking for, we have you covered. Why just be a fan of the paranormal when you can look the part? We don't have ugly merch, folks. Check out the Spaced Out Radio store. Find the link in the description below.
Dirty filth. Dirty filth. Dirty filth.
Object is heading north 045 degrees. It's definitely not a plane. It seems to be tethered to something. Is that a banner, Joe? Caribou Con. Does anyone know what Caribou Con is?
Caribou Con, one of the BC Caribou region's best-kept secrets. Until now. Join our panel of renowned paranormal experts for a weekend of fun and intriguing presentations. Go to cariboucon.com to book or inquire now.
Over here. Look at this.
Discover Spaced Out Radio on all your favorite platforms. We're live every single night with the best in UFOs, cryptids, paranormal, and the unexplained. And you can find us on all your favorite platforms. Head over to Instagram for behind the scenes and daily weirdness, TikTok for quick mind-bending clips, Facebook for community discussions, and X for real-time updates and hot takes. Wherever you scroll, Spaced Out Radio is there. So go search Spaced Out Radio on every platform, hit follow, and turn on notifications so you never miss a single episode. The weird is waiting. See you there.
The McNeil House is one of several buildings at the 108-mile heritage site said to be haunted by spirits of a time long forgotten. But would you stay the night? Along with guided ghost tours and paranormal investigations, Haunted 108 is offering a chance to spend the entire night inside the historic McNeil House by booking one of our B&B style sleepovers, where you can experience the hauntings firsthand, meet the resident ghost cat, and witness unusual activity If you dare to turn history into a night you'll never forget, book your spot now at haunted108.com. Spots are limited. Will you be brave enough?
All right, we bring in Everett Themer and the mustached Grant Tavius Maximus.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Hey, how are you?
Good. Good to see you, Everett.
We want to say a big thank you to Deborah Rooney for the super chat, T-Bone, Pam, and 23rd Neo ×2. It's a great way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. So thank you very, very much. Thank you very, very much. And we got 30 seconds, guys. 30 seconds. Deb, isn't Caribou Con a caravan of truckers yelling boo at passersby? Sure, sometimes. Welcome to the boo. Come try it out. We got 10 seconds, everybody. Swamp Dweller will be about 4 minutes. Just over 4 minutes. I'm going to mute you guys, and here we go. Here we go with the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We have Swamp Dweller and Grant with the UFO report coming on in. Everett Themer is sticking around from the Themer Group, a marketing company out of Illinois. But first, we want to say hello to all of you listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Pankosmism. Pankosmism is your password. I don't know if I pronounced it wisely or rightly, but it is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers. Here's the Swamp.
Hello and welcome to Spaced Out Radio's Swamp. I'm Swamp Dweller, and tonight I'm going to take you on a mystic journey of the unknown, sharing tales of monsters, legends, and nightmares. Welcome to the Spaced Out Radio Swamp.
Growing up in New Mexico, I have seen my share of odd things. My parents lived about an hour out of Santa Fe, just on the outskirts of Pecos Wilderness. My sisters and I went to school in Santa Fe, so we commuted every day to town and back. To be clear, my family and I believe in anything and everything supernatural, as well as I've always had an interest in cryptids, ghosts, aliens, etc. So when anything odd that has occurred that I have witnessed, I instantly connect the dots to anything I've read. Anyways, the first part of my encounter happened on a fall evening in 2017 when I was returning home a little later from school. The sun was just beginning to set when I pulled off the highway. When you pull off the highway, you can either turn left or go underneath the interstate, or you can pull off right and come to a three-way stop, which is the direction I was taking. As per usual, I pulled off the three-way and came to a stop, and immediately noticed a woman with long black hair dressed in a long dress with a shawl on her back. She had some kind of aura around her. She continued to walk down the road, mind you, in the direction I was needing to turn. I only watched her for a few seconds before I briefly glanced right to make sure no one was coming before turning back towards her, where I assumed she would be. She was gone. No trees, no cars, no buildings. Nothing was close enough for her to suddenly hide behind. That's when the feeling of something wrong morphed into a feeling of dread and fear that made the hair on the back of my neck stand. A few feet down from that three-way stop, there is a little open barn area where the owners had goats out. I noticed that for once the goats were all inside the back of their barn area. This just made things feel worse, and I took the opportunity to book it home, refusing to glance back or look in my rearview mirror. I didn't think much of the encounter after that until a few months later. I talked with my mother about it briefly, but within a few days, I honestly forgot about it. It didn't resurface to me until about mid-December on an early morning when I was up late with a friend. My friend shared a similar interest in scary things, so of course, while he was over, we spent hours listening to scary stories while we drew. It had to be about 1 a.m., and I had just opened my window since my room was beginning to get hot. I was beginning to lay back down in my bed with my friend when we heard it. It sounded like it was maybe 2 or 3 yards away. We knew it was in the neighborhood. At first, it sounded like a dog howling. That wasn't what set me off, though. I was used to hearing dogs howl or coyotes yip, especially this late. This howling lasted for at least a minute, if not just a bit longer, before it began to change. The pitch got higher, and the sound of it being a dog changed to more of it being like a human screaming. At this point, my friend and I are starting to just freak out and stare at each other. We have wide eyes as we continue to listen to whatever continued to scream. I'm not sure how to word it, but this scream just sent a chill down our spines. It honestly sounded like a little girl screaming at the top of her lungs. It stopped, and as soon as it stopped, the sound of 4 more dogs howling erupted. Just like before, it soon sounded like 4 or 5 people screaming. The feeling of dread, similar to the night I saw that woman on the side of the road months before, returned, when whatever was screaming before joined back in, this time louder and aggressive. It lasted for a minute, maybe a minute and a half, before it all just stopped. The unnerving thing was the silence afterward. No other animals from the neighborhood made any noises. My friend believes it was a skinwalker. I partially agree, but I'm just not sure. I haven't had any encounters like this due to moving out.
Thank you, Swampy, for another spooky story. If you want more just like that, head on over to YouTube, type in Swamp Dweller, hit subscribe, ring that bell. Thousands of stories for you to try out each and every day and night. Time for the UFO report. Let's bring in Grant.
In the sky, Grant's got the stories breaking through. What's hidden now comes into view. From distant light to secret cloud, mystery tracks on mountain miles. Latest news, truth revealed. Every signal slowly peeled. So tune in close, don't miss the facts. UFO facts, we've got your backs. Becomes a song.
All right, Grant Tavius Max, it's good to have you back on the show, and we want to welcome back Everett Themer for sticking around for hour number 3 from the Themer Group, based out of Illinois, a marketing company. We were talking with him about UFOs a little bit earlier. Grant, how you doing, buddy?
Good. Thank you so much for having me, and everybody that's listening. Good to have you guys back as well.
All right, let's get right to this, because the big news coming out is this giant press conference, Grant, June 9th, and there's going to be some politicians there. James Fox is going to be there. Leslie Keane is going to be there. David Grush is going to be there. And apparently they're going to try and open the big door to the big D disclosure. What do you have on that?
Oh, this one's fun. The headlines are great. It's a push for UFO transparency intensifies as members of Congress and whistleblowers call for a release of groundbreaking conclusive files. This is going to be a fun one. Excuse me. Amid surging global interest, an unprecedented gathering of senior government officials and civilians will make a direct plea to the president to declassify specific files and for Congress to pass disclosure-related legislation. That is a huge step in the right direction. A massive good step. This is a fun one because it's like looking at chess pieces moving in the press release. And we're talking about something that's literally major. It's a bipartisan press conference scheduled right on the steps of the U.S. Capitol. This is, and it's on Tuesday, June 9th, 2026, for anybody that's wondering. And the names that you just mentioned, they aren't just like internet commentators. These are heavy hitters who have been pushing the line behind closed doors. And, when you've got David Grush front and center, standing alongside Representative Tim Burchett, Anna Polina Luma, Eric Burleson, and even Jared Moskowitz. I mean, and it's been orchestrated, like you just said, by Leslie Kane and James Fox. This isn't your standard boilerplate update. This is an aggressive, coordinated play aimed directly at the executive branch and the gatekeepers in intelligence community. This is going to be a fun one to watch. I wish I could be there.
What do you think the purpose of this is? And then
Ooh.
Everett, after Grant answers, I would like to get your opinion on it.
I mean, once you read the full script on what's going on, they're putting out the 1 billion number of 1 billion people that have actually visited the website where the tranches have been released. You have, selective disclosure and the guardians against that. This is shifting from testimony to actual conclusive files. And I think it's a push. It's a push in the right direction to not only say that we're ready, but let's move this ball along, kick that can down the road, so to speak.
What's your thoughts on that, Everett?
Well, okay, so they're going to push to have files released. They're always pushing to have files released. I think that after this is all said and done, it's going to be some self-grandiose patting themselves on the back saying, look at what we've done and look what we're trying to do. And nothing's going to change. It's not going to lead anywhere. It would be different if there was some sort of legislation or something trying to push and force the declassification of documents, but just asking for and requesting or pleading or pushing for it, that happens all the time, not just in the UFO community, but in the defense community and other communities, having things requested to be declassified, and it doesn't happen. So, it's a good step. It's nice that they're doing it, but I don't think that, in 2 weeks we'll be saying, oh, look what happened. I think it's going to be, well, that happened.
I'm wondering if this is just this is more of just let's keep our names in the front of the cameras. Let's try and get there. Look, Leslie Keane has done great work with the New York Times article, writing it, co-authoring it with Ralph Blumenthal back in 2017. I believe she was in a relationship with the late Bud Hopkins for a while. She is somebody who is one of the old school people in this field. She's not really a part of the UFO community, but she has done great work in pushing the ball forward. She really has, from a more scientific, specialized perspective. James Fox has made some great documentaries. Not quite sure why he needs to be there. That's no offense to James. Okay, but why do you need a documentarian at a press conference? That really doesn't make sense to me unless he has another movie that he's preparing to come out, right? But until they start eliminating certain words from their vocabulary, like skiff, we don't need any more skiff talk. We don't need any more NDA talk. And we certainly will hear this, but we don't need any more transparency talk. Because until they actually become transparent, let's lose it from our vocabulary. Maybe I'm being a little too greedy with what I want, but this is all about hype, keeping the story going. It's the same politicians who've been speaking about this. It's the same story that we have to push harder for transparency. We need to push and put more pressure on the Pentagon and the president and the rest of the Senate, the rest of the Congress. We need to do that. But like Everett said, this isn't anything new. So what could they possibly be bringing that's new outside of getting in front of the camera?
I go ahead.
Oh, mentioning Burleson and Luna, they're the ones that in the past couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks, for all of this transparency that you're requesting, they're the ones that have been kind of speaking the most about, they were in these skiffs and they saw these things and it would change your world. It would rock your world. It would alter the way you see things, but we can't tell you about it. And I find that a little disingenuous and troubling coming from the people who sat on the congressional record saying, we need to know this. The public needs to know this. And if we know it, we need it released. So, for them to want documents declassified, the whole thing to me just seems a little bit disingenuous.
I can see that, and that's the reason why I said guarding against selective disclosure. You just like you spoke, Representative Burleson quoted, or the quote that he had in this is the most revealing part of the entire text. And he says the goal is now to, and I've got it written down here, it's to make sure career intelligence officials don't obstruct his directive in order to prevent selective disclosure or another dead end. And that's the real battlefield right now. The UAP caucus knows the old playbook. When forced to comply with either president or even Congress, these legacy programs don't flat out refuse anymore. They are complying maliciously. They hand over 500,000 pages of blurred radar logs and redacted flight manifestos since 1974, and all it's doing is choking the investigation with noise, and it's all while keeping the definitive core files locked in special access programs, which we call SAPs. And Burleson's calling that out before the June 9th event. He's doing it before it even starts. And will it work? I agree with you. Probably not. Will it make some noise? Absolutely. Is it going to catch media attention? 100%. And all of us are going to be watching it. I would love to be there still because I just support UFOs. I want to know what's going on, whether it's more than just the dots in the sky that we're catching on these FLIR cameras and more than nuts and bolts. I don't care what it is. Let us know. You guys have been dropping the breadcrumbs and laying heavy on social media sites with these teasers. Let us know what it is. We're ready.
But do they even know what they're trying to get out?
Probably not.
I mean, Everett and I touched on this, and Everett, I'll bring this question back to you. We have politicians who've been acting very tough about their way they're using their words, about the cover-up, the legacy programs, the shadow governments, and all of this type of rhetoric. But in the end, they don't give us anything. I mean, just look at the videos here for a second. I brought this up last week. When we look at the videos that were released in the tranches, the majority of those videos were not even taken in the United States. They were taken in war zones, in hot spots, whether it's Southern Europe, whether it's Africa, whether it's the Middle East. And yet, prior to that, it was all about we have to protect America's sky from these UAPs. We are in danger here. How many times have we heard Ryan Graves say, with his flight safety group that he created, there's danger in our sky. Whether it's military pilots, commercial pilots, we're having these incursions over military bases. We need to protect our skies.
Yeah, Dave, can I interrupt for a second?
Please.
Because that's where the marketing comes in, right? He knows who his audience is. And he knows that those are the people who are looking for that danger, excitement, kind of threat type thing. And he markets towards them. Is it Are his statements accurate? We don't know. But he knows who to market to. And you have to sift through all that noise, because it wasn't that long ago that we had the people who were talking about sort of the interdimensional peace and love alien beings is what we're going to experience. There was the great psychic shift or whatever it was, and there were so many of these positive aliens that were going to come. It can't really be marketed or sold to the public both ways. You're just going to divide the camp.
Well, and as we've said on this show many a time before, threats create budget.
In a way. And so I'm going to play devil's advocate here. So what we're doing when we see something like this, and I understand, is this, a lot of people are going to ask, is this just a publicity grab? You have a couple different plays here, and they can weaponize this and use it as public leverage, so to speak, because in Washington, publicity is often the only weapon that lawmakers have when they're completely blocked out of things like this, when they don't have the information. It's all a classified system. Representatives like Tim Burchett and Luna and Eric Burleson, they've been blocked repeatedly from the intelligence community. And so by staging this on the Capitol steps with David Grush, they're not just making to try to get on the evening news. They're trying to create like a public mandate, and they're using the massive 1 billion user data point as a battering ram to show that there's a legacy gatekeeper that the public is trying to pay attention to. And then there's also a direct play for like executive cover. You got to notice that there's a specific phrasing that he's using in this release. And it was, I got it written down again. President Trump now has a historic opportunity. Let the American people judge for the facts. He's forcing the hand on the UAPs Disclosure Act as well. And so these are tangible objectives that they're doing that's going to create legislative pressure in my mind. And so hopefully it comes up with something. I mean, this is one of those times in history where, just like Dave, you were saying, why do we have certain people here that are going to make this historical and maybe make it into a movie or some type of other novel or something? Well, this is the time to be paying attention in my mind, because we are setting history as we speak. We're laying the brickwork for full disclosure.
Everett, your thoughts?
I wanted to get your guys' opinion on this. And that is, you have Burleson, Luna, Burchett. Okay. Now they've all been in these skiffs where they've admitted that they've seen and gained information, but now they're on the other side of the fence, standing there saying these things need to be disclosed. Doesn't that put them in kind of an awkward, almost disingenuous position of, they can't be sort of on the inside, but not disclosing things to the public when they said their whole purpose of this was to disclose, and then go stand on the steps saying we need to disclose things. I find it a little bit, it's a little bit difficult to swallow, a little bit, tough to buy into. On one hand, they want disclosure, but on the other hand, they've admitted that they have these secrets. What's your guys' opinion on that?
That's a good one. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It's a glaring paradox of the whole situation. I mean, it really puts the representatives in a massive conflict. It's tight-lipped, and it is highly awkward. These are essentially they're trapped between two completely opposing forces. The sworn.
Hold that thought, Grant. We'll continue with the UFO report. Grant Baker, Everett Themer, and yours truly.
This is Spaced Out Radio. Your host, Dave Scott.
We still have the best theme songs here.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
We do. Good times, guys.
It's fun.
Getting the itch, Ev?
What's that?
Getting the itch?
Oh, I've always got the itch.
Oh, you're going to hate me by the end of the night.
I spent a lot of nights with this man. You're not going to hate him. He's pretty fun. I'm talking about
Everett and I go way back, Grant.
Oh,
Everett is the original you.
Oh, gosh. Well, I got big shoes to fill.
No. I was a bumbling idiot.
Hey, that's my line.
That was my charm, though.
That's fun. I remember meeting Dave for the first time, and we had a blast. Oh my gosh, it was so fun. I don't remember half of it, but what I do remember was awesome.
When Everett and I met for the first time with a couple others at this paranormal conference in Provincetown, Massachusetts, we were so pissed off, not at each other, but at the event, that near the end of it, we were just like, screw this. That was a horrible, horrible time.
It was one I'll never forget.
I will never, and if anybody asks me why I'll never have Sam Baltrusis on the air, I haven't had him on this show since 2017 because of that.
And he put us to work. I mean, like, I walked
and then
in.
He wanted to charge you guys.
Yeah.
So this guy, Sam, puts together this paranormal conference, and literally the day before we all came in, the day before the event, he had nobody to set it up. So Everett, the preacher, and myself volunteered to help him set it up. And at the end of setting up all the tables for everybody there, he wanted to charge them for entering. And then he only covered 2 of my 4-night stay. And then after I was the only guest he didn't advertise to speak. Remember that, Ev?
Yeah.
We had like 11 people in front. I traveled 3,500 miles to speak in front of 11 people. And then, to top it all off, after that, we weren't even invited to the VIP dinner.
Oh, no.
Yeah, I don't know what went wrong with that whole thing. I mean,
yeah.
The thing is, we were the most engaged with the people. I mean, you had your booth. The preacher and I, and even Tracy, were out there giving away stickers and talking to people about the show and trying to help anybody we could. And it's like we weren't even there.
Yeah, it was the craziest of things. And then, so nobody outside of the TV people, because he wanted all the TV people. We weren't even allowed to participate in the ghost hunt that they were going on. And oh my God, it was absolutely the worst. And then we run into Sam on the main street at about 11 o'clock at night, 10 o'clock at night. I said, "Hey Sam, what's happening for tomorrow for the event?" "Oh, we don't need you. Have a good trip home."
Oh,
Just
man.
enjoy the sights, literally. And Everett and I are looking at each other and we're like, you got to be serious right now.
Yeah. And it was funny because literally, I think the second sentence you said to me was, "Can you unfold those legs?" Because we were setting up. It's like we finally meet, say one sentence, and you're in the middle of setting all this stuff up, and I'm just walking in. And the next thing I know, we're all just putting out tables and chairs and doing their work.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And he didn't even have us at the same hotel as the other guests. He said he couldn't get a room there, yet Everett got a room.
No, we weren't at the same hotel.
No, that's what I'm saying is he did not have the guests, us staying with the same guests.
Oh, yeah.
At the same hotel as the guests. Anyways, thank you, T-Bone, for a hat trick or two. Pardon me. That's 2 nights in a row I said that. Thank you, 23rd, for 2. Pam and Deborah Rooney for the super chats. Here we go. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio. It's a UFO report. My name is Dave Scott. We got Grant Baker and Everett Themer sticking around as he's been here all show. So let's get right to it, Grant. What else you got for us in the UFO report?
Oh, good. We got a couple good ones for you this evening. Lou Elizondo says we need to give amnesty to those in the legacy UFO programs. And here's a quote from him. We have to give them amnesty. If we want to get past this, we have to give immunity. I believe most people in the legacy program want to come out. I believe honestly in their hearts, they thought they were doing the right thing at the time by denying the program's existence. They were patriots. You may even have to create some sort of witness protection programs. These folks are scared. Holy mackerel. I mean, that right there cuts straight to the core of why disclosure is actually completely gridlocked. I mean, when Lou Elizondo talks about amnesty and witness protection, he's pulling back the curtain on a real reason the truth stays buried, and it's fear of prosecution and ruin. I mean, if you think about the legacy programs and what it actually is, we're not just talking about keeping a secret or signing a standard NDA. If these special access programs have been operating completely outside of, oversight committees or congressional oversight committees for decades, these people are actually running them. They have crossed some serious legal lines, if I can put that in that kind of terms. Do you have a thing on that, Everett?
I would think that they wouldn't need amnesty or immunity if, files were declassified. It seems like this is, I don't know, a little dramatic.
Well, I mean, if you look at it in a different light, you have what we assume to be a misappropriation of taxpayer funds. Then you have the overclassification trap, as well as the patriot paradox. Like, if they're really patriots, he hits this, kind of in a psychological truth here, because the guys who started these programs in the 40s, 50s, they actually believed that they were protecting humanity or keeping tech out of Soviet hands back during the Cold War. But over generations, that patriotism kind of doesn't stand up anymore. It's more like a cult of absolute secrecy. And so now the current gatekeepers are trapped by their own predecessors' lies. And, for 70 plus years, they've been lying under oath to Congress. They've been falsifying records or highly redacting them. Now we hear that they have a huge AI program where anything that is ever received through, the all domain anomaly office arrow, it is filtered through this AI program. And then that's what we get, is the bare low hanging fruit, so to speak. And the moving of billions of dollars around, what we call black budget programs without any knowledge, congressional, any oversight committees, it's not just secretive. I mean, this is a massive felony. So when they say they're scared, it's because they're scared of being prosecuted. It's gone past the point of just keeping the secret or, keeping the lies or the curtain up. It's, in my mind, I think they're scared because of the things that they might get in trouble for. And we don't even have any clue what they know. And so Is it a media grab? Like, hey, look at me. It could be, but if you break it down to its pure, simple truth, if I was somebody that's still alive, 70 years old from 1950, 76, whatever, and I knew about this and I helped keep the secret, and there's things in there that I know that could just completely ruin me or my family, I kind of tend to try to keep that a secret.
Yeah, but I think you have to tighten up the scope a little bit about the idea of immunity.
Yeah.
The people funding this, if it was misappropriation of funds, the people doing that and getting this funding may not have any, or I'm sorry, the people working on the programs may not have any information or any knowledge about how the program was funded. They're simply doing their job in the military and doing what they were told to do. I don't think you can hold them accountable for anything to begin with. If it's somebody within the CIA or the Senate that is, or even outside mainstream government that is, doing this funding or getting this funding, if it's illegal, do they deserve immunity? Should they have immunity?
I don't.
I think it depends on their position, right? The other thing too is we have heard recently, and I don't know if it coincides with his tour that he is doing, his persona non grata tour, but Lou Elizondo has been very impassioned lately. He said maybe it's time for us to just, spend some time with our loved ones and hug our kids and remember what that feels like. Like it was almost the feeling I got from that quote was, and I'm probably, paraphrasing when I say that, but the point that he was saying, hang out with your loved ones a little bit more and don't forget to hug your children. I mean, what's next? Drink your milk and eat your vitamins, right? Say your prayers. Let me tell you something, brother, right? I don't know.
Could that just be burnout though? I mean, he's spent 10 years being criticized and held to the fires. And
I'm not saying that to crap on Elizondo because I do like the guy. I think he means well. I think he's got a bad rap, but we also have to realize he's a counterintelligence agent. He's one of the best. To be in that position in the government, you have to be a better actor than somebody in Hollywood. Okay, I think we can agree on that. But I think there is something very genuine about him, right? And I also believe that he has been overly emotional lately about telling people to hug their children a little bit longer, enjoy the fruits, almost like there is some sort of alien invasion that is coming and we have to be prepared for it because we're not going to survive. Then he kind of comes out with this statement, which kind of alludes to the same type of emotion, Grant.
I agree with that. When you're pulling on the heartstrings of somebody, and anybody that has children or loved ones, anybody that they care for, whether it's a pet, it doesn't matter, and you say, love on them a little more, hug your children a little closer, spend more time with them, you're pulling on the heartstrings, and it gets people into a different frame of mind psychologically. And instead of looking at the UFO topic or what's going on within reality that we know of today, and you start turning it around, it's more like Psych 101 at that point to me. I feel that I've heard this a couple times, especially with Tim Burchett. He's gone online, his social media page, where he said things like, this would make you worry at night. It would set the world on, and then he would almost set fire and then continued on with us. So it's one of those things where in my mind, it seems like a publicity stunt, because when you have these people that are going to these gifts, whether it be Tim Burchett, Anna Paulina Luna, whoever it may be, and then they come out and they're playing this I know secrets, but I can't tell you trap. And it's like dangling the carrot in front of the rabbit, and it's always, stuck to a stick. I think what they're doing is they're putting up a flag. Look over here, and this is what's really going on over here to my left or right. You're making people, you're misdirecting is all it is. Because when it comes down to, oh, we say the government this, the government that, we all forget places like Raytheon, Lockheed, all these world big tech companies, the private aerospace defense contractors. The reason why we can't do FOIA requests to the government and they say, oh, we don't know anything, is because of these contractors. Now, here's my question, because I want to drill this down into the absolute bedrock of what people would call conspiracy in certain cases, because this is the multi-billion-dollar chess question. You know, when you shift the spotlight from, the Pentagon and the government into the private aerospace defense contractors, the ethics, the laws, and the question of immunity completely changes. And I believe 100% that that's exactly what's going on. Is this tech, the hardware, the debris that we found, is all in the private sector, and they're the ones with the cards. So, I mean, it's the corporate theft of the century in my mind.
Let's move on to another story, because I have one for you here that I forgot to add to our list.
Ooh.
Chris Ramsey, good Canadian kid, magician, solves puzzles like anything. I love his channel. He was doing a UFO tour, a speaking tour called It's Probably Nothing. And him and Jesse Michaels started this off, and then all of a sudden, Chris decided to continue it. And he had dates set across Canada and the United States. Well, apparently, his production company called him to say they can no longer cover the kind of loss, tour bus, hotels, flights, cost of huge venues. And by the time they realized that they should probably downsize to smaller theaters, like they did in Toronto, it was already too late to make it work for June. So he was transparent, and that was happy to take a slight loss in exchange for the experience. He offered to pay for the lots of marketing, hiring local talent to open the shows, etc., but it wasn't enough. Tickets for all canceled June shows will be automatically refunded to the original people who bought them. So apparently they were booking rooms for It's Probably Nothing to talk UFOs from a guy who's been in the UFO world for 2 years. They were booking rooms of 1,200 people, and we're only selling about 300 to 400 tickets. He says, and I believe Chris on this. He says, I'm really sorry. This one hurts because I know a lot of you had plans. We're looking forward to it. Many of you might have planned a trip and gotten a hotel, etc. I hate letting you down, and I'd rather be straight with you. Until an hour ago, I thought we were good to go. I had to call all the guests and co-hosts and let them know as well. The good news is all August shows are still on. The contest is still running for those dates, and I can't wait to see you here. Canceled June shows will hopefully be rescheduled for early 2027 in smaller, more intimate rooms so we can do them properly. What's your thoughts on this, Everett?
Doesn't surprise me at all. In fact, in music right now, there's a phenomena called the blue wave. And that is when you go and you look at ticket sales, all of the blue dots. There are tours being canceled left and right. There are empty theaters, auditoriums, that kind of thing. And I can even understand the idea of these places not wanting to have him self-finance it, because there are insurance, security, municipal issues that, when a tour company is doing these and arranging these, there are a lot of things you don't even think about. Insurances, guarantees, bonds, things like that. He can't provide that. Even if he offers to pay for the theater, he can't provide some of that stuff. And on that short of a notice, it just may not be worth the risk to them. But it doesn't surprise me one bit that things like this are being canceled.
Money's tight for a lot of people right now.
Mm-hmm.
It really is.
I want to kind of go against the grain on this one. You're talking about Chris Ramsey, who
Yes.
has multiple channels, over 7 million subscribers, has to reach in his own pocket to fund things like this. Okay. If you think about this from a business perspective, in normal Hollywood, a creator with Ramsey's numbers and track record and just seriously baked in audience, it's a gold mine. You know, production companies would be throwing blank checks at this dude, period. This kind of sounds fishy to me. I mean, I don't know. It's a classic gatekeeping tactic. There's an actual word or a definition for this. It's called financial attrition. And, you know, they don't want to send guys in black suits to threaten you. So they're shutting them down. And they have the ability to do this stuff. It's kind of like when you go from Hollywood and just doing entertainment, then you kind of get into real investigative work. And that's what I think in my mind, they're trying to stop. And it's financial attrition in my mind.
Or is it, just to play devil's advocate here, is it that people are tired of having people speak to them as experts when there are no experts in this field? And when you're charging, and I don't know how much he was charging for tickets, so I'm not even going to speak to that, but let's say you're charging $60, $70 a ticket, which is probably a going rate right now. Okay, if you're charging $60, $70 a ticket, never mind the meet and greets and everything like that, you're creating yourself as a celebrity, right? You're creating yourself as a celebrity, number one, as an influencer, number two, but a lot of people are not going to these events. Even Lou Elizondo is having trouble selling out because a lot of the UFO public who has donated their blood, sweat, and tears and money to all sorts of causes regarding this, they're done with what they call grifting. And is this a big grift? And how can someone who's been in the field for 2 years, maybe 2.5 years, 3 at the longest, be doing a world tour, a North American tour with what? What knowledge do you have? Now, that isn't a shot against Chris Ramsey, but no offense, if I had a chance to see, let's say, a few years ago, there was a tour of, it was Paul Hellyer, Richard Dolan, Victor Vigiani, Grant Cameron, and there was one other there. I can't remember who it was, but they were doing a tour across North America about UFOs. That's a tour I would pay money to go see, because these guys have been doing this for decades. Just because you have 7 million followers on YouTube for a magic and puzzle channel and over 600,000 on his YouTube channel for UFOs doesn't mean that you're an expert or anything like that. We do our Vegas event every year. We have troubles getting 40 people to come join us. Right? And for the most part, up until the last couple of years, Vegas has been pretty cheap. People can't afford it right now. So that's what I think it's more or less is this a grift on the UFO topic, number one, from somebody who's not an expert, but trying to create a financial backing on it, or profit, pardon me, on it? Or is it something that maybe people just can't afford because the economies are in the tank? Your thoughts?
I, for the most part, agree with you. I think that, a big part of it is you have to, today in this economy, you have to pick and choose your entertainment and your leisure. And, maybe like you said, if there were a tour out there that was Hellier or Dolan, something like that, could it sell out? Ancient Aliens is coming here by me. From what I hear, the ticket sales for that is pretty good. He is internet famous, but that doesn't necessarily transfer into a tour. And I think between the two things, like I said, I've talked to people who have had their tours canceled. The ticket sales on a lot of things are tanking. It's a problem. I know people who are going to go broke because they can't tour this summer, or they had planned on touring this summer and it got canceled. So for him to have to cancel something like that, could he be a grifter? He could be, but I think it's more related to the economy and people having to pick and choose their entertainment dollars.
And that's what I think it is. I mean, I went and saw Hailstorm, and who's the violinist? Lindsay, I forget her name. She was amazing. She opened up for Hailstorm.
Anyways, yeah, I know who you're talking about.
The violinist?
Pardon me?
The violinist, Lindsay Sterling? Yeah.
Lindsay Sterling.
Yeah.
She was amazing. I was in a hockey arena in Penticton, British Columbia that seats about 6,000 to 7,000 people for Hailstorm and Lindsay Sterling in October. And the place was half full.
Oh, man.
Half full.
Well, real quick, last summer, Blink 182 had full stadiums the whole weekend.
Well, we got about 20 seconds left. Grant, thank you so much for the UFO report. We appreciate it. Everett Themer, thank you for going the distance with us tonight. What a great show. And we are going to continue it again because that's what we do. We're here 5 days a week for your listening entertainment of the weird, strange, and supernatural. As we say hello to Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal. Rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, Elga, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, # Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and Bigfoot Broadcasting Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friend,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo Train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. Good job, guys. Let me just get you off mute here.
Good job to you too, bud.
That was a lot of fun.
It was.
Yeah. Everett, one of these days, me and you just got to sit down and have a chat between the two of us.
Anytime.
I love the way your mind works.
You're one of the few. It's taken a few hits in its lifetime.
Uh-oh. I'm listening upstairs. I just bought my daughter a French bulldog this evening.
What'd you buy her?
A French bulldog. I could have bought a car, but I bought a dog.
Of course she did. Of course.
Sounds about right.
It's my daughter. Come on.
Never go wrong with that, buddy.
Yep.
Never go wrong with that. All right. I got to get ready for Walter Sterling here in a couple of minutes. I still don't know what the hell we're talking about, but we'll figure it out. Everett, I will give you a phone call here in just a little bit, unless you and Grant want to chat while I'm doing Walter. Then I'll come rejoin you.
That's up to you guys.
I'm good.
You good with that, Grant?
Yeah.
To the rest of you, thank you. Tomorrow night on the show, our Keith Andrews, the ET Connection. We're going to all hop aboard the Woo train. We're going to go for a ride. We're going to have some fun. Bring your questions and enjoy the Woo with the conductor of the Woo train. So thank you tonight to T-Bone ×2, Deborah Rooney, Pam, and 23rd Neo ×2 for the super chats. I will listen to you guys, or you guys will listen to me on WABC with Walter M. Sterling, starting in just about 5.5 minutes. Have a good night, everybody. We'll talk to you soon.
Stay healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.